Welcome to another CO2 Monday in the Refrigeration Mentor podcast. Super excited you guys are here today. I want to talk about like 5 or 6 different things that I do to build my program. So hopefully help you to be able to build programs internally, externally, however you do it for CO2, because I really believe this is important. How do we share more knowledge? How do we help the refrigeration industry out more? Is by diving in, getting our hands dirty and helping other people by building different training modules or conversations or mentorship with inside the organization. And I think this is so important. This is something that I do on a daily basis. And I really want you all to work at it a little bit. There's definitely a few competencies that I talk about that I try to instill in all my programs when I am delivering content. Before I even get a training session out, because I have a lot of core trainings. I have a lot of trainings that are one-off trainings, but some deep technical trainings as well as personal development trainings that I do at Refrigeration Mentor to help the industry out. And I think these are some of the things that you can implement inside your business. And I think this is how you're going to help your business if you're getting into CO2 or if you work with CO2 now, is how do you help those people that are coming up? Always, you always want to send them to the Refrigeration Mentor CO2 trainings and the different options that we have here. But internally, you got to prepare them to get to this point, because a lot of times in your organization, you'll have different levels of people. And that's where this first thing that I'm going to talk about, identifying core competencies. Inside your organization, you may have people that know very little about CO2, some people that knows a little bit about it, and then some people that know a lot, and then some maybe experts inside your organization. So you're going to want to train differently and teach them differently as that trainer or that lead instructor on CO2. Or if you're not that trainer, you're a lead tech or you're the operation manager or you're a service manager, but you want to help, or foreman, and you want to help teach your guys. There's stuff that you have to do to implement into that training curriculum that you do. Maybe you're not building curriculum, but you're at least teaching people. You should have a process. But the first step is understanding where those people that are going to take that knowledge that you give them. And that's the first step that I do when I'm building a program, when I'm working with a contractor or working with a team. I try to find out where each of those people are at and how I deliver my training will be different depending on my audience. So the first step is where they at. Like I said, are they brand new to CO2? Do they know quite a bit about CO2, or are they really high level CO2 knowledge? Because you're going to teach them differently. And there's different protocols that you're going to go about. Like safety is going to be the same for all of them. You always need to be talking about safety. It doesn't matter what type of refrigeration you're talking about. You got to get into that safety to understand that we are in a highly skilled trade. So even if you're talking to engineers or consultants or end users, you still got to talk about safety. Maybe a little bit different if it's the technical side where they're installing versus someone that's not in the field, but you still want to talk about that safety so everyone understands. So when you're building or training on that, you want to talk about the safety side. So I talk about that with anybody I talk to, even if they're an expert in the field. It's still something that you want to talk about in case anybody ever has any questions. And as a trainer, you don't have to be an expert at everything. This is what I used to think. I need to be an expert at it. I'm an expert at a lot of things, but I don't have to be an expert at everything. What I need to do, though, is help the people that I'm teaching and training feel like they understand the stuff that I am providing as an expert. Like they understand it so they can safely go out and work on stuff. Like ensure that trainers are not the only experts in the refrigeration, but possibility of ability to convey complex things. I go out in the field. This is one thing about Refrigeration Mentor and our programs. I'll go out in the field with manufacturers, with contractors to learn myself, because I know I need to be teaching, and what I'm teaching is actual what guys or technicians are seeing out in the field. But if you're a trainer with inside your organization and you're doing full-time training, well, that's not always possible. It's nice to get out there, but it's not always possible. Or if you work for a manufacturer, you can't always get out to the field if you're a specialist inside there. But what you need to do is be able to explain complex problems in an easy to understand way. And you're not going to be explaining complex problems right off the bat to someone who never really worked on CO2 before. So you want to work your way up. And that's kind of like the different areas of expertise you need to understand. Who are you talking to and teaching to? That's the big thing. And when you understand where each person is, that's where you can start developing and you start getting into that customized training program. because these different levels of CO2, you're going to have different levels of training. Because this is what I do in the refrigeration mentor program. If I'm doing like more of an introductory training, I am not talking about how the PIDs work and controllers. I'm not talking about deep talk on how that high pressure valve and flash gas bypass valve controller works and controlling things. You're going to lose the people right away. And I've done this before in the past when I was training stuff. You need to work your group up into a level where they of understanding of actual a process. I talk about systematic approaches all the time, and this as a trainer or a mentor or someone who's trying to share knowledge, you should have a process with the people you're training, because maybe they don't know what you're talking about and they'll let on, oh, I understand. But you need to understand that if you're in front of them, that's something that you need to be able to pick up on. I'm getting really good when I'm training online and everyone has their camera on. I can get a better understanding of they know what I'm talking about, or if I'm losing them. I can tell if the light bulb clicks off, or I'm, that they look like a deer in the headlights. Honestly, it gets easier, but you practice this. This is the stuff you practice. And then when you're customizing a training, especially as CO2 training, you want to understand, are they working on the equipment yet? Do they have access to the equipment? Will they be going out and installing and serving the equipment? And that's how you can start to customize the program. So you'll have maybe your introductory training as a trainer. You might have your intermediate training and then more of an advanced training. And there's a process to it. In every stage of that, you want to have an understanding of what the biggest takeaway of each tailored module, I guess I could say, or each tailored instruction session. This is really important. Like, what do you want to get out of those each after you develop the customized training? What do you want to get out of that? And that is key, because for me, if I can help someone get one thing out of the program, like just one thing in that session, and it's key, and they can go use that tomorrow in the field, that's a huge win. As a trainer, that is a huge win. So this is what you want to think about when you are the trainer, or you're trying to instruct other people. Even if you're not an actual trainer in your organization, you're a lead technician. What you want to do is help them be able to implement the stuff that you're talking about. So when I customize a program, I find out before the program starts, what do that company needs? What does the technician need? What does that consultant need? And whoever it is that I'm training, it doesn't matter, or I'm educating or I'm mentoring, I got to find out what their needs are. And then from there, I develop that customized program. Once again, you're going to have lots of different people you work with, courses that you're going to put on, that everyone's going to have a different need. So as a trainer, we need to develop that program where even if you have someone that's very new or someone that's very experienced, that can relate to the stories in that program. That's a big thing. A lot of my programs are about real life stories, a lot about implementing practices that I've either done in the field or I've seen done in the field, so people can feel like they are there. And so they're like, man, I've done something similar like that in the field before. I'm going to go and try to implement this. And a lot of my programs in the Refrigeration Mentor CO2 programs, there's a lot of hands-on training. Well, a lot of people, well, you're a virtual trainer, Trevor, like you're not in the field with them. I'm not, but I'm continuing education. So I'm working with technicians who have been in the field before, who know how to use their tools. And the value of like the Refrigeration Mentor training that I do is that I can implement assignments, field service things while they're already at work, just things that they may have not been doing before, or really bringing that skill level up, getting them maybe to implement it a bit more. And that's the big thing. That's the huge value with Refrigeration Mentor trainings and the virtual training that I do. I can have technicians from all over the world in a training and affect change in quite a few of them. Even though you're on the other side of the world, as long as they can grasp and understand the flow and what I am talking about, and having them go implement it. Because a lot of people think, oh, it's real hard to go and do the hands-on portion. No, well, at the end of the day, if you've been in the field for 6, 7 years, you're already doing it. And this is what I tell a lot of people in my programs. The only thing that I would be doing in the field with you is be holding your hand. Because I talk to a lot of guys. Have you ever pumped down a rack before? Have you ever changed a oil, like coalescent filter in the field? And I'm like, yeah, I've done this, I've done that, I've done that. Have you ever worked on CO2? No. But you've done it on HFC systems? Yes. And then I walked them through the process. They're like, man, that is not as difficult as I thought it was. And in so many programs that I've done so far, I have technicians going and implementing some of the stuff that we talk about. And they're like, man, this system has not been maintained in 6 or 8 months where it was supposed to be. And now they're out there crushing it, doing it. So that's where you got to include that hands-on component in your training. So if you're in the field as a technician in the field now, maybe that's doing the hands-on work with them and teaching them. Maybe they've never done it before, because a lot of the times in the field, if you're a lead technician and you have an apprentice, maybe they haven't actually worked on the equipment before, didn't use the tools as much. So that's your job to mentor them and to show them. It's not for you to do the work for them. A lot of people think, well, I'm going to build this program overnight. No, it doesn't happen. It doesn't just happen overnight. You got to think about it. What's that end goal? You know, for me, my end goal every week is someone has one thing to take away that they can go implement in their day-to-day life and a day-to-day role. And that's where I continue to see people grow, is those implementers out there. I think the next thing for train to trainer is developing like effective communication. Okay, this is so important and key, especially to people that worked in refrigeration for a long time, but is starting to learn now CO2. There's a lot of new terms, the terminology, and this is something that I emphasize in all my programs as well, is the differences between what they've been working on and what there is now, and show them the similarities. Because you guys been here, lots of you, many weeks, week over week, coming to CO2 Mondays, learning from the different experts around the world, but it's time for you to start implementing some of this stuff. Those of you who are coming to listen, the only way to learn is to share that knowledge. Like Jim Quick and many other people says, knowledge is only power as if you use it. And I know there's quite a few of you on here that do. You reach out and say, thank you for having this person on. Now I'm working on this and my team is seeing this, and this is the growth. This is the bottom line increase. I see it all the time. There's so many people reaching out and letting me know that what they're learning from just CO2 Mondays is the benefit to their business and benefit to their careers. And this is that communication where it all comes into play. So when you're teaching or training someone as that trainer, instructor, or facilitator, or lead technician, service manager, operation manager, it doesn't really matter your role. But when you have that effective communications, talking to them, coaching them, mentoring them, that's where you're going to see a big change, because you always want to be on the same page as that person you're teaching. Even if they're very new and they don't know a lot about refrigeration or CO2, you got to find those points that really make sense for both of you and really make sense to them. At the end of the day, we want to encourage them to want to learn. Good facilitators, good trainers, good instructor encourages the people that they're teaching to want to learn. Because at the end of the day, we can give them all the answers, we can share all the knowledge, but if we don't inspire them to want to learn, it's going to be a longer road for their knowledge. And I am seeing people that come into my CO2 programs fast tracking. They're shaving years and years off of their troubleshooting, installing server, years, literally years, because they're coming, I'm encouraging them, I'm teaching them what they should know, but then they're going out and practicing it, because it's not me at the end of the day, it's them going out. And those that are going out there doing the stuff, trying it, getting better, growing, they're crushing it. And they're saying like, listen, I would not be here if I didn't take that program this quick. And that's the same with all the other programs I do, like the supermarket programs and the compressor master classes, like shaving years off of it. And like a lot of people say like, oh, well, I know compressors, I've been working on them for 7-8 years. But you take a compressor program, come to the Refrigeration Mentor Compressor Masterclass, hands down, you might know a lot of the stuff, but I'm going to teach you the intricacies of these different compressor manufacturers. It's just hands down. Copeland has almost over 30 scrolls. Like, well, I know a scroll. Well, they got 30 different ones. Do you know where all the manuals are? Do you know how to troubleshoot each one? There's different manufacturers. You got Bitzer, and then you got Vilter, and then you got LG, and you got Tecumseh. You got all these different manufacturers, and you could be working on any one of them. Yes, you know how, say, a semi-hermetic pumps, but you can't say, okay, this is how you troubleshoot a Copeland 6-cylinder compressor, and then you say, this is how you troubleshoot 6-cylinder Vilter compressor. It's different. Different refrigerants, different safeties. And this is what's really important, is when you're that instructor, you guide them. You're really the guide to their knowledge. And when they start to absorb it and be able to implement it, that's when things change. And once again, it all comes back to that communication, talking with the people you're training, caring about them. I care about the technicians coming. I want them to succeed. I want them to be the best technician that they can be, or the best person they can be. Because not only technicians are coming to my program, I got manufacturers, I got salespeople, I got engineers. It's just people want to come and learn and get better at what they do. And providing guidance on the different communication tool, visual aids, presentation, demonstration. Like, this is what we're guiding them to want to become better, to get to their next level. And it all comes back to, as an instructor, as a trainer, about the people who purchase my service, the businesses that come in, the corporations that hire me, because I care about those people being very successful. I want them to be successful, and I want them to grow faster. And I continue to reach out to a lot of these people and see how they're doing, and I follow up. That's one of the big thing. But promoting and communicating with them their success, and seeing that. When I dive into the next thing, I really think is, encourage continuous learning in your organization. Like, this is big. And, this fosters a culture of continuous learning, and that's by leading by example. Is one big thing. Like, I go to all these events like around the world, and learn from the experts. And I get the experts to come here to CO2 Mondays. But why people keep wanting to come here is because I'm encouraging continuous learning. People come here because they see me. I'm getting taught by the experts from around the world. I'm learning from them so I can share the knowledge in my programs so they get better. And we need to, as trainers, especially for a CO2 trainer, we need to encourage this. We need to encourage them. Hey, go check out the Refrigeration Mentor podcast and check out this CO2 one. Don't go say, okay, go and look and find one on. Actually pick an episode. Go into the list. I got over 160 plus podcasts. Go and actually pick one. Say, listen to this one and tell me one or two things that you took away from it. Because I want to talk to someone about it, and just do that. If you're a lead technician, talk about it. Ask them and put them into a point where, they're looking to learn. And say, listen, we'll both listen to it. I haven't listened to this episode yet, but I'll listen to it too. And let's talk about it tomorrow. And same with the YouTube channel. There's over 80 or 90 CO2 videos at this point. There's going to be hundreds and hundreds at some point. But right now, pick a video. Go in and look. I got lots of great ones with all the top manufacturers around the world. And just go and pick one and say, listen, let's watch this video. It's 35 minutes. It's 50 minutes. You watch this video. And on Thursday, we're going to talk about this. And then as a group, you can learn about it. So if you're a lead technician, it's the same thing. Here you have an apprentice. We know we're going out to this job tomorrow. We're going to be working on Bitzer compressors. Here's a Bitzer video that you can take a look at. Watch this video and let's talk about it before we get to the site on the drive to the site. Or if you're an instructor in your training programs, you can do the same thing. So you have 20 students, you have them all watch a certain video, and it could even be a clip. It doesn't have to be a whole episode. It could be a clip of one. And say, check this out between 10 and 20, minute 20. And then you talk about that process. It could be about superheat. It could be compression ratio. It could be about the high pressure valve. It could be about case controllers, whatever it is. There's so much to it. But when you start to encourage people to learn and you build it into a habit, just like James Clear says, you got to build these habits. And I highly recommend reading that book on habits. The thing is, though, if you encourage continuous learning, they see you doing this learning. They're like, wow, that's pretty cool. Doing this stuff. That's where they're going to get more engaged. Be like, I've been here. I've done this. I tried this. I've seen this. I read this. I watched this. And talk about it. It all comes back to what we talked about just a minute ago, that communication, effective communication, and really, really work on that. I think that's so important. And I think the last thing to help your program, if you're an instructor or a trainer, or if you're just a technician, is the feedback. Really getting some assessment feedback. And this is one thing that I've done since I started Refrigeration Mentor. I even done it before I started Refrigeration Mentor in the training programs I was doing, is getting the feedback to make it better. That's why every CO2 program that Refrigeration Mentor puts out, the next one's even better. Because I'm taking any tips or tricks or what other people from non-experienced to more experienced people and implementing that stuff. So I'm continuing to change and grow and evolve the CO2 program. Because if someone that's new to it says, like some of this was over my head, I can go back and revise that for when someone is in the same level coming into program, to make sure that when they get that in that program, even the next week or doing the assignment, I could change the assignment up where it dives in deeper for them to understand, get a deep level. Because I know if one person that has a similar amount of experience and refrigeration knowledge, that there's others out there as well that are looking for the same thing. So this is how I evolve my programs and getting that feedback. Ask for the feedback. And sometimes it's, sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's tough to take the feedback. Oh, I didn't really learn what I thought I was going to learn, for an example. And then I follow up with them and then find out really what they were looking for, and it wasn't even the right program for them. Right? They just jumped in, they took one of the programs, and it wasn't what they were expecting, because not everyone is looking for technical training. Other people are looking for more high level training. So, and that's what you want to understand, the people that you're training. The only way to grow your programs, to get it better, is getting some feedback, understanding, review, update. And this is what you need to do in any of your programs. And even if you're a team lead, this is big. If you're a team lead, a lot of people new to the organization, younger apprentices, they don't want to give you that feedback a lot of the time. Okay. Try to make it a safe place. Do like a Google form. Maybe you get the management team to send a Google form out anonymous, so they don't know who's going to fill out the form, and then get feedback that way. Better to ask them, though, to get feedback from the person directly, and make them feel safe about it. A lot of people, it's really hard for someone to give feedback. And even for me, it's taken years and years and years to develop my skill to say like, man, I didn't really like this, and these are the points. But as an instructor, you need that. You need to understand, or as a technical trainer or train to trainer or whatever you're doing, even if it's a service manager or a director role, a lead technician role, you need to get that feedback. How do you grow if you don't know where you need to improve? And I think this is how Refrigeration Mentors continuing to grow and get better at our CO2 programs, because we're getting the feedback and we get people, man, this was amazing, this section, do more of that. And I've been doing more and more of that, and the program's been getting better and better and better. And this is what I really believe, that if you're doing train to trainer, or you're starting to train people within inside your organization, this is the steps to do. And maybe start with something. Maybe it's not CO2. Maybe it's start with something Maybe it's just on the HFC side or the supermarket side, and pick one topic. Maybe that's how you start it. You know what I mean? And that one topic, you train 4, 5, 6, 7 different people. Then you get some feedback from it. How do you make it better and easier for the next person that you're going to train and encourage to really want to learn that stuff? Really important to do all this stuff. And because CO2 is coming, it's revitalizing, it's becoming new, it's starting to become more mainstream. We get thousands and thousands of installs here in North America, tens of thousands across the world, and it's going to just ramp up. It's going to be like the hockey stick. That's the way CO2 is going to go. It's just going to start shooting up real quick on the amount of installations that are going to be out there, from supermarkets to heat pumps to industrial. There's more and more is growing. So as an instructor, or as a person in a refrigeration industry, it's time to start learning now. And if you start sharing the knowledge now, in 2 or 3 years, you're going to develop your skills as that trainer or mentor or that coach, whatever you want to call yourself, to your team. It's going to help you prepare yourself. So when you're training a lot more people coming into your company, more people that you chat with about it. So important. So the 5 things, once again, to follow up is, identify that core competencies of who you're going to be teaching, training, educating it. That is so important. Develop that customized training program. So you may have different CO2 programs inside your organization. So maybe it's a starter, install, service, maintenance, whatever it is, level 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you want to call it. But you need to develop those customized trainings for those different people that'll be inside them. Then from there, effective communication, promoting effective communication skills, like talking with them, emphasize the importance of being clear on what you're talking about. Do you understand what I mean? If you don't, that's okay. Let's talk about it again. Let's review. Let's go over, because that's something that's very important, that they understand every step of the way. And it's all back to clear communication. And from there, encourage continuous learning. I can't stress this enough. Talk to them about, where do you want to go? Build a plan with them. This is, as a trainer, you should be building a plan for the people that are coming in to learn, I have steps for sure. The steps in Refrigeration Mentor right now is, if you're new to refrigeration, say 5-6 years in, it's that compressor masterclass. And if you do and that's for really any industry. If you're in refrigeration or HVAC, that's compressor masterclass. But if you're specifically in refrigeration, it's the compressor course, then it's the supermarket course, and then it goes into the CO2 course. And then there's levels in those ones as well to really benefit the people that will be in the trainings. Because when I work with organizations and organizations hire me, I can have different CO2 levels inside there. It could be an install, it could be a maintenance program, it could be a service program, it could be an all-in-one. No difference in the supermarket program. So that's encourage that continuous learning, and then send them to the Mastering of CO2 YouTube channel that I have. There's, like I said, 80 videos. So talk about those. What did you get from it? It's important to do that. And finally, is that feedback assessment. I think you get that feedback, and that's how you can really revamp what you're doing, grow it, get better at it. Because as you continue to do that, all that other content could be for the new people, like the way you grow yourself. And I've seen it time and time again. I continue to add to my programs, make them better, refine them, and I can see people growing quicker. So I'm changing my programs up along the way, because I'm like, wow, this course that used to take me 3 weeks to get to, I'm doing it in 2.5 weeks now, because they're just getting it. And I see with the marks that they do, the assignments that they're doing, and the feedback that they're getting, they're like, wow, they're fast tracking, they're ahead of where we need to even be. So sometimes I'm even slowing down some of the programs, but it's a lot of fun. Even me seeing the growth in these people that start to take these CO2 programs, I see the growth in them. They're like, wow, they're fast tracking really fast, just from, like I said, the assignments, the quizzes, and everything that's done within the program, which is really good. So getting that feedback is key to making a better train to trainer program in your organization. So we have, once again, lots of CO2 programs. If you're a business owner, and you work with contractors, end users that have CO2 equipment, or you're a contractor that works with end users that are either going to start using CO2 or have CO2 now, but you need your teams to get up to date on the safety, on how to service, how to maintenance, how to install, reach out to Refrigeration Mentor. You can head to the website. I've got individual programs, I got contractor programs. And this is where it's so important to double down. Double down on your team, because if you're in the supermarket industry, you need your team to understand CO2.